So for this question, what we have to do is we have to evaluate an expression given only single digits and only two operations, which is the multiplication and the addition. And this is just a sample input. It's going to be a string, and it's basically going to be like 5 times 2 plus 2. And what we want to do is give the result of that. So 5 times 2, 10, plus 2, 12. So how we're going to do this is we are going to use a stack to kind of like keep track of the sums, of the sums of what like we are encountering. So what we're going to put in the stack is going to be kind of like the digit. So we are going to start off by iterating through all of our input. So once we see, if we see a number, we are going to add it to, our stack, and we're going to push it, and so we're going to continue to the next part. Now, since we are kind of like keeping track of the sums, if we do encounter the multiplication symbol, that means that what we're going to do is that we're going to look at the previous value, which should be already in our stack. So we're going to pop that value, and we're going to multiply it by the following index, since we know that there should be an integer next to it. So we're going to pop it, and we're going to multiply by the next value, so I plus 1. And we're going to, once we have that result, we're going to want to put that result into our stack. So our 5 is popped, it goes out, and then 5 times 2 is going to go in, and it's going to go in as 10. And we're going to continue iterating, except now, since we have already looked at this value, we don't have to look at it again. So we can kind of like skip over. And how we can do that is by just adding a plus 1 to our I. That way, once that loop finishes, it's going to be now going to this one. Except now, we are not going to do anything. We're just going to not do anything. We're just going to continue to the next one. Like in the loop, and yeah, if we don't, and we're gonna add that 2 into, we're gonna push it into our stack, and we have already gone through everything. So now our stack has 2 values, and what we're gonna do is, like, for as long as there is something in our stack, we are going to kind of like we're gonna end up like popping we're gonna have a sum, and we're going to kind of like, as long as there's something, we're going to pop from our stack. So stack pop, and we're going to add it to our sum until there's nothing else. So let's do that in code. So it is going to be called, it's going to be function evaluate xp, and it's going to have, like our input, which I'm just gonna do input, and now let's kind of like instantiate our stack and also our sum. So our stack right now is going to be empty, and our sum is going to equal to 0. So now let's iterate through everything. Forget that. We're gonna iterate. So now we're gonna through our input. So for var I equals 0, I is less than input length I plus. So now the first one was we're going to check if it's an integer. So if our current value at that given index is not if input I, let's just I'm just gonna kind of check that it's not a multiplication or an addition. So if input I does not equal and input I does not equal the plus, that means that it should be an integer. So we are going to push that into our stack. So our stack now is going to be stack dot push input I. So it's going to push it, except something that we have to do is also, since we're going to add them eventually, I'm just going to parse them into ints as well. So what we're going to push is, we are going to push that input I, but I'm just going to add the parse int part here. Parse int input I. So that takes care of that. Now another condition that we're going to look is to see if it is actually a multiplication. So else if input I is equals to the multiplication, what we're going to do is we are going to pop, but we're also going to push. So we are going to let's just first pop what we are. Let's just first pop kind of like the next value. So what we're going to do is we're going to go stack dot pop, so that should be a number, and we're going, since we know we're multiplying, we are going to multiply times the following. So we see this, so we want to multiply times that number. So we're gonna go input parse int input I plus 1. So it gets that one. And now we have that, but we also want to push that result into our stack. So let's actually go into our stack and push that in. Great. So now that that's there, since we have already looked at this value, our I is currently here. And once it's done with this loop, it's going to go here. But we already looked at this value, so we can actually kind of like skip over this one. So let's make our I equal our I plus 1. So that way, once it goes to this loop, it's already 1 ahead. So now that that is done, we're not going to do anything for the pluses because we are actually going to add our plus. Our addition is going to take into effect from the different values that we have within our stack. So we had 10 and 2. So now we exit that loop, that for loop, and now we're going to check, we're going to add the values in our stack. So while, so as long as the stack has a length, then we add. So while stack dot length, we are going to add to our sum. So our sum is equals to the stack the pop. Great. So that will pop that one. 0 plus 2 is 2. So now we have one less, and now we have a 10. 2 plus 10 is 12, and so now we are going to return the sum. So now we return the sum, and basically for this one, it is a time complexity of n of 2n, because we have to not only kind of like iterate through our input, but we also have to kind of like go through our stack as well to do the addition.